Hey everybody, my name is Tony and I am your host for this new you, be you, true you, Reiki challenge. Okay, so I'm going to make a couple videos here. This video is just an overview video of kind of what the challenge is about and why you might want to participate and that kind of thing. And my cat says hello because she likes making videos almost as much as I do. Anyway, so what's this challenge about? Well, geez, goodness gracious. This is about creating a practice, Reiki practice. And, there's lots of different kinds of Reiki practices and there's lots of different kinds of things you can do. And the biggest problem I find a lot of folks run into new student-wise is that there's just too much stuff. Like, where do you start? What do you do? Which technique do you do? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, and every technique has a thing and they all have different effects and it can be a bit challenging to figure out, what you really want to do. And so sometimes what can happen is we get this thing called paralyzed by choice, which is there's too many things to do and you don't know where to start, but you kind of have to build a base. And that's the other problem because there's so many techniques and some of them take a long time, or can take a long time, I should say. They don't actually take a long time, but is it can sort of be one of those, well, I only have 10 minutes, so I don't have enough time to do it, so I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow is next week, and then next week is next year. And then pretty soon you've been a Reiki practitioner for 30 years, and you're like, you know. And the funny thing is that, Reiki's working on you pretty much 24 hours a day. And the thing is, it can work on you very passively and very gently, or, you can use it to really get down to the brass tacks and clear some stuff out. And this challenge is about kind of trying to build a way to get it more integrated into your life. And so the way this challenge is going to work is I basically, mostly this is because Facebook is the way the events in Facebook, you can only make a week. You can only make an event that lasts a week. You can't make an event that lasts a month. So I had to do it sort of as 4 weeks. And then it occurred to me, well, that's a great way to just sort of do something a little bit, add something a little bit weak. So we build a base. We start with something very simple. So, and what we're going to do is, so each week is going to add some new practices into your overall thing. Okay. And we're going to be using a bunch of different techniques and we're going to be learning a bunch of different things. And then as we get towards the end of the challenge, you'll have built a very solid base, both in terms of practice time, but also in terms of techniques that you can use for your practice. And, and how much time you want to spend on this is really entirely up to you. There's no one, going to come to your house and set a timer and watch you. If you can do 5 minutes, then that's what you do. If you can do 10 minutes, that's what you do. If you can do 6 hours, well, hey, good for you. Because I guarantee you'll get a lot of results if you do that. But it's up to you. And the idea is we're just trying to build some consistency on a daily basis. And we're going to do some very simple stuff. We're not starting off with anything complicated. So this challenge is open to you if you are Reiki 1 or Reiki 2, or even a master. I mean, and if you're a master, some of these techniques might be a bit basic. But the funny thing about Reiki is that all the most powerful techniques you learn in the beginning. It's kind of funny, actually. Everyone wants to get to this master level and learn all these secret cool things. But I'm going to tell you, the best and most secret cool thing you learn in Reiki 1. And it's really right there. And most of the other things you learn are just ways of sort of approaching the cool stuff you learn in Reiki 1 from just a slightly different perspective, and a little bit deeper perspective. But the things are all there in the beginning. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be working with different techniques each week. We're going to be adding on. So we're going to start off with some very simple things, and then we'll add on a couple things the next week, and the third week, and fourth week, and so forth. So and then, and as I said, there'll be a video either telling you the technique or something to read. There'll be some discussions, of course. You can obviously post in the week of the particular challenge. You can always post your questions or whatever. Probably doing some Facebook Live stuff as well, maybe. This is kind of like, fun. I just wanted to start off the year with something cool because everybody wants to do New Year's resolutions and whatnot. And I figure, let's do a resolution. Let's go ahead and get started and do a really cool Reiki challenge and try to get some healing done for yourselves and everyone around you. So that being said, that's pretty much how it's going to work. So, there'll be a challenge. There'll be the challenge will be to do a specific technique or techniques for, over the course of the week, and it'll be a daily kind of thing. And how, once again, how much time you devote will be kind of up to you. There is one technique we're going to be using every week. That is a little bit longer, and it's about a 25-minute technique, but it's a guided meditation that I already have recorded, so it's nice in music and stuff. And so that's going to require one day, in the week, the same day every week. So I'll talk more about that in a separate, like this week's practices are video, but in general, so that'll be the only thing that'll be long. The rest of the time is kind of up to you, 5-10 minutes, but ultimately you kind of want to get to the point where you're looking at trying to do half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour if you can do it. But once again, if you can only do 5 minutes, then only do 5 minutes, because it doesn't make any sense to really to say you have to do an hour and then you don't do it because you don't have an hour, but you have 5 minutes. I personally have found in my life that working towards your goal, whatever that goal is, every time you spend towards your goal is useful. And that is what we're doing here, is we're trying to build some time building up. But obviously, the more you can do, the better you are. Anyway, I just wanted to say welcome to the challenge, and kind of give you a little bit of an overview there. And there'll be a separate video here in a second with this week's challenges, but I just want to give you a bit of an overview. And obviously, if you have any questions or you want to know more about this challenge, you can go to the Reiki Embodiment group there, which, there's a link to that in there. It's open to anyone that's Reiki practitioners group. And this group is really just all about techniques that work. That get you to bring Reiki and or healing more into your life, and we're not, and the group's open to anyone regardless of lineage. I mean, if you practice cheesecake Reiki, and which I really like cheesecake, so that could be a really good Reiki style, then that's fine. If you practice Japanese Reiki, that's fine too. Clearly, we're working, the focus is on embodiment, but, there are lots of ways to embody Reiki, and not all of them are steeped in Japanese spiritual tradition. I mean, sure, that's where Reiki came from, but the reality is I live in America, and I'm an American, and I didn't grow up in Japan, and what I understand about Japanese spiritual traditions, I only know from reading and playing around with Reiki. I don't really know what it's like to be Japanese. I've studied with some Japanese masters, but even then, my brain doesn't work that way. And I think to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is what a lot of folks have done sort of recently, we kind of start off with this very Western Reiki, and then we kind of sort of discovered the roots of it and wanted to get back to what Usui did. And, what Usui did was obviously very powerful, because clearly we're all doing Reiki for a reason. He must have done something right. Otherwise, it wouldn't have went anywhere. But then, we kind of came to the West, and, and there's been a lot of innovation and a lot of things that the Western folks did. And then relatively in the past 5 or 6 years, a lot of folks have sort of, kind of like gone what I call down the Japanese road, where it's like the Japanese is the only way. And it's like, the reality is that's not really true. I mean, the only way is the way that works for you. And as long as it's based on solid principles and sound, and about getting core to the truth of who you are, which is what Reiki is ultimately about, the true self. If you have a technique, I don't care if it's stand out on a tree stump with a magic feather. If that Reiki technique gets you closer to being you, then that's a great technique, and let's discuss that. And just because it didn't originate from some monastery in Japan doesn't mean it's not a valuable technique. And there's a lot of those techniques like that. And I used to do a lot more of that back in the day before I discovered the traditional Japanese, and then kind of went all down the Japanese, sort of put all my chips in there. And then I found out, well, that's really great. But then recently, I've been exploring some of these other techniques because they really worked. And I want to share all that. So that's this. So this challenge is going to do a little bit of both of that. We're going to have some Japanese stuff. And then we're going to also throw in some modern sort of, Western Reiki interventions into this as well. So anyway, thank you a lot for joining the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you all. And may your challenge be fruitful and filled with love and all the things that you need to achieve your goals. Thank you.